one little girl from Zimbabwe, she asked, does God have a wife? And some of the young people would say, I don't think God needs a wife. He's got it all.
What's funny about that is God does have a wife.
Yes, it's the church.
That's right.
His bride.
So,
yes.
He speaks about it often.
Yes.
If you had just one question to ask God, what would it be?
Find out on this episode of LED Live.
Hey everybody, welcome to LED Live. We've got a very exciting show for you today because it's not every day that you get to sit next to a KGB agent from Russia.
Not quite, but...
Okay, not quite.
We would like to thank all of you who support this ministry through your donations and by buying merch from lightwear.shop. We cannot do this without you, and if you send in your pictures, we will put you on the show.
When you talk to this guy, he sounds like he's a KGB agent, but some world travelers, and I don't know about you guys, but there's certain parts of traveling that I really enjoy, and I guess that wasn't always the case with you guys. Oh, by the way, this is Dimitri and Grace, and they have a really unique ministry that they're going to tell us about today. But they travel around the world. How many countries have you been in?
I think the last count around 54 or so.
54 countries. Have you been on all 7 continents?
Yes.
Okay, that's an amazing feat because that's pretty good. I don't even know. I've never sat down and actually counted them. Have you?
Yeah, I think I got to the 20s.
20s? That's impressive.
But my goal is to reach all 7 continents by 30. We'll see if that happens.
Yes, I was made in Russia, born and grew up in St. Petersburg, the second biggest city in Russia. So exactly where the communist Soviet revolution took place. So it's very like
Did you watch
historical.
that take place?
No.
No, okay.
I'm a little young.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a rich history in the city.
Yeah.
Yes, and of course under the red flag, pretty much people like me had very little hope to see, other countries, especially capitalist countries, free countries. You probably can go to Cuba or like some,
some other communist country.
Right, so social.
They're okay.
Yeah. So anyway, and for some reason, God gave me like desire even before I knew God. I wanted to see the world. I want to see not just the world, just at least 1 or 2 countries. We have a good neighbor, Finland. I thought if I can go to Finland or Sweden, next neighbor, it will be a, life ambition.
Wow. So you didn't believe in God at this perspective?
No,
this point
I didn't
in your life?
believe, not really.
Because you didn't grow up with it, or?
Well, in my Soviet school systems, they made sure to brainwash
Weed
us.
that out of
Yes,
you.
yes. The religion's opium for your mind. Stay away from religion.
Wow.
And when we, of course, learn the medieval Dark Ages history, it's convincing. You don't need God. And Russia went to space, of course, the space program. So, and there was a talk that when Russia went to space, there was no God on the cloud, just like on the Earth.
Wow.
Yes.
Your rocket blew up. Is what I remember the history, right? And that's what allowed us to actually send a rocket up, was that you guys had actually beat the US by miles in the technology,
Yes.
but it set you back because of the explosion of the rocket. I think that's what I remember about it.
Well, yes. Yes. That's,
So you said you were a part of the military as well?
Yes, every man.
Okay.
We had mandatory military service, and when you turn 18 or 19, depends on you if you're finishing your degree, so they will allow you to go 1 year later. So that was me. So I went when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
So Soviet Navy,
Wow.
in the far east of Russia. Yes, I was shipped there. But unlike to serving on a Navy vessel or submarine, I was on a Coast Guard, like in a naval base. So I served 2 years and 2 weeks.
Very nice.
He's counting down.
Did that help you achieve your life ambition to see another country, or did you stay in
No,
Russia?
I stayed in Russia. Yeah.
Oh, yes, I didn't get it then.
In fact, and after military service was finished, there was a military officer, I believe, like Secret Service, one of those KGB officers who stack of papers, fold a serious look. So they brought us a paper to sign up. I'm not allowed to go abroad for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Did you keep that promise?
Well, no, because the Soviet Union collapsed.
And the paperwork means nothing now.
So the Soviet Union was, that's what I committed, but that's what I signed. But there was no more Soviet Union that time. So,
Wow.
So I was, anyway.
So after your military, how did you then start to begin to travel?
Well.
Where did this come into play?
So it was, what they call it, the carrot.
Yes.
Before the horse or the donkey. So they told me if I enrolled, I was a carpenter by trade, like Jesus.
There you go. There you go.
So anyway, I was a carpenter, and they told us if I go on the docks to work as a carpenter, I will have a chance probably to go to Cuba and some other countries, as a carpenter on a vessel. So, and that's what I enrolled, but soon I realized it was just to get me to work hard, 8-9 hours a day, for probably earning $30 a month.
What?
Yeah.
Is that just because of the communism?
No, the economy crashed. We had completely recession. I mean, the dollar was close to ruble. On the black market, probably you can buy $3 1 ruble. I mean, 3 rubles $1.
Wow.
But in the time when I was after Soviet Union, 7,000 rubles $1. And inflation was so going quick down that the food stores was closed for a while because they don't want to sell you, food because the next day the price will be different.
So they hold on to it, hoping that maybe next day they'll make twice as much money. Oh yeah, that just causes a major problem.
So and when I was almost depressed, in a way, because all my kind of dreams are collapsing. And one day I went to the sailboat club, and I was just standing there and watching sailboats going back and forth, and I'm kind of thinking like, wow, they probably go to Finland, and some other countries, And there was, as I was looking on the sailboat, the captain like, you want to come in? You want to join us? They were just about to go in the Gulf of Finland. So, and that was life-changing for me.
Wow.
Because they liked me right away, I was former Navy. So I was not afraid of water and swimming and so on, and was enthusiastic and a carpenter. I can fix stuff on the boat.
Skills, man.
So the captain like, hey, you want to be a crew member? We go abroad once a year, for racing. Baltic traditional sailing.
Yeah.
So that was life-changing because I think the year later I went to Sweden. Yeah.
So what was that like? Did you see Finland from the boat?
No, actually we went to Sweden.
Oh, you went to Sweden.
Racing,
So the first time you rounded the corner and saw a foreign land, what was that like?
That was different world. I mean, I'm serious.
You died and gone to heaven.
The best description, Captain's wife was in tears. She cried and cried and cried.
Because she'd never seen it either.
No, but she cried because of such a contrast, of our, she grew up also in the Soviet Union, and, but she's seen this free society, The people were like happy, 18, 19 years old, going to college, already live separately from parents. It's just like, no fear, everything is clean and organized. You've been in Sweden,
I have been to Sweden, yes.
So that was, and the best way to describe, she was in tears. She cried and cried like, why our country cannot be like this?
So you got the travel bug right there, you bit with it. Right. Now, where did you two meet then?
Oh, wow, that's quite a jump. But he actually was, had quite an experience learning about God there, right?
Oh yeah, let's get to that before you guys actually met. Yeah,
That's kind of what led to all this.
Tell us, like, what was that moment that you actually came to an understanding or belief in God?
Well, after my trip to Sweden, it was not very ambitious for me to continue to work as a carpenter. So, and my friend told me, hey, they have a summer part-time job as a busboy in a 5-star hotel. So, and I learned some English a little bit, kind of broken English, or I don't consider it I knew English compared to today. So, but somewhat I was better than others in a way. So, and I had a little confidence to go and apply for a job. So, and because I went to Sweden and a 5-star hotel, Hotel Europe in St. Petersburg, was that time joint venture with Sweden and Russia. So, and I thought maybe because I went to Sweden, they might hire me. I was still working as a carpenter and I was hired part-time to do busboy. And boy, I was happy. It was free food. I was hungry, So, and as of course, I got some little income, but the tips. So once in a while, the waitress got sick or something, or and they, can you serve the table? I served the table. I got $1 here and $5. As a part-time for a few hours, I made more than 1 month.
Wow.
So, and of course, I was so happy. I was constantly trying to learn English. That's why I enrolled in the English courses with American teachers.
Wow.
They introduced me to Christ.
Oh, that's cool. So did it come up in the conversation during the teaching moments?
No, it was regular courses and kind of in the evening. What they did, they invited us for Friday night fellowship.
Wow.
Very informal, just get to know each other. And it was not the Bible studies, nothing like this, but open conversation, debates.
Wow.
Bring your views and we bring our views.
Wow.
So, and it was, I liked it. It was like very informal, so you get to know teachers. So, and then we realized they're like strong believers, and what kind of the first impressed me, those with a high education, nurses, there was one biologist, San Jose University biology major, scientist, believe in the Bible. Another one was from San Jose, State University, 2 years at PUC, but San Jose, he graduated in environmental science.
Wow.
Very smart, intelligent man, Bruce.
Wow.
So he believed in God. So, and they were all very balanced and, nice people to be around.
Wow.
So that was first challenge. How can you be a Christian with a scientific background?
See, sometimes it's not always just the knowledge. Sometimes it's just the interactions that we actually have with people that speak more than words, right? You're seeing them and you're going, hey, wait, what's unique about these people?
Yes, and my spiritual journey started pretty much from this group. When I missed this group, I went, on a sailboat and decided forget this Friday night meeting. I would rather, have a party, after, race or after going on a sailboat. We had our, drink and but I missed the, our Friday night meetings. So I thought it was more meaningful to be there than next day have a headache, and regret what's happened.
How long did that go on before you really started doing Bible study?
Well, it's been probably at least a year.
Okay.
Yeah, and what's happened interesting because my life in Soviet Union left me impression it was a big, deception, right? The whole system. They were promising the bright future, and happy people, and it was totally opposite. Oppress people and crushed economy, and of course more and more corruption of the previous leaders was coming out in the news. So, and everything was what was prohibited in Soviet Union. Now it got my attention, and of course one of them was, Bibles and religion was. So that's I'm gonna check it out. So, and another thing was he was my teacher lending me a book would you like to read English classics? I said, what's the name of it? Pilgrim's Progress. It was prohibited during Soviet Union times to read it. Oh, he gave me
Give
the
it
book.
to
I would like to read it. And then what he did, he lent it to me. Probably if he would give me for free, it was in Russian language, old print. If he would probably give it to me as a free book, I would put it on the shelf. Someday I will read. But he lent it to me, and I said, I'm obligated to read.
Yeah, it's a
So-
good idea, actually. Good witnessing
Yeah.
tool,
It's a built-in follow.
I'll give you this book, but I want it back.
So, but listen what's happened next. I came home, I opened. Boy, this is Christian stuff. This kind of like religious. I don't really want to read. My first impression. But then, okay, that's old printed in the Tsar's time. And plus my teacher probably will ask, how do you like it? Did you read this chapter? I thought I should read it very quickly. At least I said I read it. So, and as I start reading, guess what? Holy Spirit worked on me.
Wow.
Because I start recognizing like, oh, that's my teacher. That's my family. That's me over there.
Wow.
It's really made me impression. So when I was giving him back, thank you, Bruce. It was a really good book. Did you like it? And as a matter of fact, yes, you can keep it. Oh, thank you. So before I read the Bible, God spoke to me through English classic by John Bunyan. If you never read it, please read it.
Wow.
Yeah.
If I remember right, I think he wrote that in prison.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, it spoke to me. I recognized. I was in the city of destruction. Yes. I recognized me as a, wretched, lost, and it spoke to me. Yes.
Wow. So now that you kind of have this newfound faith, how did you even get in touch in America, or how did this connection happen here?
Well, so pretty much as I start, accepting Christ and start reading the Bible, there was a battle in my soul because it's like all my previous views was crushing, and I was pretty skeptical, kind of like Thomas. So I just decided. I was renting the room with my English teacher. He invited me, would you like to be my roommate? And I read this Russian Bible printed in Finland, and they smuggled Bibles from Finland to Russia in Soviet days. So, and it's hard to believe all this miracle, raising the dead, creation stories, it's just unbelievable, resurrection, the Christ is alive, really, because all I've seen is Russian Orthodox crosses with the, Christ crucified, and that was it.
Dead.
Yeah, so, and then simple prayer. If you never prayed this prayer, please pray. God, if you are real, prove it to me. God, if the Bible is truth, please let me know. Prove it to me.
Wow.
Let me help me my unbelief.
Wow.
So and from that time, God gave me dreams, about my former girlfriend, a nightmare. So it was a warning sign.
Yeah.
So when she broke up with
When everything's
me,
burning.
yeah. So and then my values start changing.
Wow.
Yeah. So what I did before, I had no more joy.
Yeah.
So he started giving me new values, new desires. So and I start realizing that even though I cannot touch God, but He is real because I see changes in my life.
Amen.
And so that's one of the journey. And to make the story short, I was studying in college, hotel management and tourism. So I was promoted a few times in a 5-star hotel. I was
You served Ted Turner.
Okay,
Jimmy
yes.
Carter.
Yeah. So when I was a head waiter, yes, there was Goodwill Games, kind of like Olympics, and Ted Turner with Jane Fonda as a wife those days, and a blondie kid. So they were sponsors. So and they, they came to Russia and they asked me to serve him,
Wow.
to Turner, and Jimmy Carter came with a mission, to help orphanages in Russia. And so the boss called me. Dmitry, you're gonna serve Mr. President. And remember, you can screw it up with food and order, but never remember the title. don't call him Mr. or so. Mr. President, Mr. President. That's more important than anything else.
Toast is burnt, Mr. President, but sorry.
Yes, exactly. So I remember, coming to Jimmy Carter and Mr. President, what would you like to drink? He ordered sparkling water, and that was it. Mr. President, can I take away your plate?
Oh, wow, yeah.
And that was it.
You need 2 words, Mr. and President.
Yes. And I know some fellow Americans, they run, oh, Mr. President, let me shake your hand. So pleasure to meet you, right? In Russia.
So this sounded like a pretty nice hotel. I
Right.
mean, what happened to that career?
So yes, I was planning to make a career in hotel management. That's why I was taking the college classes in Baltic College of Tourism. So to become a hotel and tourism manager. So, and at the same time, I'm learning the Bible truth. And I found out that God is asking me to keep the Saturday Sabbath holy.
Wow.
And that was a dilemma because in the hotel settings, Saturdays are the busiest days. It's all the functions and birthdays, and it's just the natural flow of people in the restaurants and hotel. Another dilemma was some of the final exams in my college was on Saturday.
Wow.
So, and I start facing like a real personal spiritual struggle. Is it what's more important in my life? My career, or even freedom to travel in the future, or God in the Bible and what He is asking for me? So
how much of the Bible had you read? That's one question I have. And was that something you discovered through study with other people, or just completely on your own? You're reading and you're like, oh, this is here.
Well, the Friday nights gatherings was actually...
Okay, that's where you started to learn that?
Yes, you can ask questions, and of course at the end there was optional always to watch the movie, and to have we have translators. My English was not that good, so we had some Russians who pretty much was close to be fluent in English. So, and when the American teacher spoke and answered the questions, so just one more thing I should tell you though was what they presented to me is that there was a Sabbath keeping in ancient Russia.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
So it was because I was like, well, why not Sunday? Even in the Russian Bible, it was not the Lord's Day. In Revelation 1:10, in the Lord's Day, I was, the John is writing.
Right.
So in the Russian Bible, it's Sunday, Resurrection Day. So and then it's like, excuse me, what about Sundays? The whole Christian world is keeping Sunday holy. Where did you get this Saturday idea?
So what translation was that? I'm curious.
Because synodal, I don't know how to say it in English.
Because my understanding is that later, was it the 90s? Maybe late 80s, early 90s, there was another translation that was developed that became pretty well widespread. And I don't think it would have I think it would have gone back to, in the Lord's Day.
Well, there was several Russian Bibles. Original was ancient Bibles, was Lord's Day. There was no changes.
Okay.
So then there was somewhere maybe 1800s, mid 1800s. I don't remember. But this another American teacher, Ivan, he had a deep, in-depth research on Sabbath keeping in Russia. So and as he was presenting me this material, I was like, wow, the first Christians in Russia actually kept Saturday Sabbath holy according to the Bible, and of course many other facts I learned, and I was under conviction. So it's not the Sunday, it's a Saturday, 7th day, to keep it holy. So I was, to make the story short, I came to my boss, can I work on Sundays instead of Saturdays on a regular basis? I won't be able to, to come on Saturdays from now on.
Friday night to Saturday, by the way. The two busiest times of a hotel, period.
Yes, exactly. Well, I was a good worker, so it was not much questions, I suppose you can, you know. So so it was good until the colleagues start being jealous. How come he's so special, you know? Every Saturday, every busy day, you know, so there was a pressure on manager to put me back on a regular schedule.
But wouldn't the busier days mean more people and likely you get more tips?
Yes, it's
So I don't know why they didn't complain about that.
No, because once in a while Saturdays involve some movie theaters or events, you know. They don't want to do it on a regular. Something happened. I mean, probably you know, devil stirred them up. You know, anyway, there was. And because of unemployment in Russia, many people there was a big pile of applications for my position. You know, they didn't have to keep me and accommodate me. You know, but for a while it was okay until the colleagues become, you know, complaining and more pressure on the manager. And instead of going in trouble with the colleagues and explaining, he just put me back on the schedule. And I thought, Lord, what should I do? Again, so a dilemma. And I thought, well, I will honor God, and there is a promise. You honor God, He will honor you back.
That's right.
And somehow in my mind, I thought, I'll just don't come on Saturday, come on Sunday and apologize and do some extra work for them. And somehow He will be in control of it. But instead, so I came to my work on Sunday. They were furious, they were mad, angry, red faces, you know, screaming at me, you know, what was the reason why I didn't come to work? Because somebody else couldn't come for another health issue or something. So it was a bad day for them. So, and somehow I realized, where was God? Why He didn't make it smooth, right? You know, smooth transition, some kind of.
Sometimes He doesn't.
Yes. So anyway, the manager told me, you know, you can keep your Sabbath, but you're fired.
Wow.
So that means I don't have any income. I cannot pay for my college degree education. And to make the story worse, it was in my college, like final exam on Saturday. I come to the dean. I'm sorry, I cannot come for the final exam on Saturday. Are you sick? You have any health issues? No, ma'am. Some issues in your family? Is something happening in your family? No, ma'am. What can't be so important as for you to miss the exam? It's my conviction because I would like to honor God. It's my, you know, I won't be able to do it on Saturday. Are you studying hotel management and you want your Saturdays off? You know, this kind of talk. And then I remember Dean looked at my face, looked at my eyes. I cannot guarantee you graduate.
Wow.
So
God closed all those doors.
Yes, I mean, my girlfriend is leaving me. I'm not a cool guy anymore.
Wow.
So it's just like, God, where are you? What's happening?
Wow.
You know. So that was one of the experience.
So what made you stay? I mean, all this is happening, and it's because of this root thing of your values and your faith changing.
Yeah.
What made you think that was worth it?
Well, God was speaking to me in my conscience, you know. You have now your new values, and just trust me, you know.
That's hard to do
yeah,
sometimes.
and what I'm based on reading in the Bible, I read about martyrs, and I was in my 20s, you know, and all my life dreams and career and travel and relationship to find someone special, you know. Who wants that kind of guy, you know, to date? Extreme thinking, you know, and it's kind of like, I thought, God is calling me to be a martyr, to suffer, you know, life, maybe, you know, being homeless with no degree, no job. I don't know. So, but the general manager of the hotel, when he heard what happened, he called my, you know, direct manager and told him, not told him, he actually screamed at him too. He says, you have no right to treat him like this. You promised him he can have Saturdays off. Keep your promise. You know, you cannot fire him. He's going back.
Wow.
So and of course, I was not anymore in a honorable position. I was back to be a busboy on a buffet, in a breakfast buffet. So and cleaning the glasses, wine glasses, at the end of the shift, part-time.
Wow.
So
Imagine
and then
going from serving the president.
Yeah, right.
yeah, I was a little manager. I trained the waiters, and one particular waitress coming to get her recommendation to go to America, YMCA, and she's not even a Christian, YMCA.
Yeah.
She's an atheist, and she's applying to go to the Christian organization to be in the Christian summer camp.
Wow.
So and she sees me cleaning the glasses. Oh, Mr. Dmitry, what's happened to you? Long story. Then she just, why don't you go to America? Why don't you apply to go YMCA? Like what? Yeah, what it takes. You just get recommendation from your job, from your college. You just write, your English is okay, So I improved my English.
Wow.
So, and I thought, there is no way. Plus, it takes $800+, close to $900 for the ticket. And I was saving for my college, so it's like, no way. So I told her, like, I don't think it's realistic. She comes next day. What are you losing? Why don't you go to America? Why don't you try? Just apply. And then something happened, because I almost heard the voice. Why don't you try? What you're losing. And maybe God is speaking.
Wow.
I read the story, God can speak through the donkey.
Right.
He can speak through an atheist girl who is trying to come. Why don't you go? Why don't, maybe after America they will respect you. 4 months, you can improve your English. So, and I thought, recommendation from my job, they tried to fire me. Recommendation from my college, the dean told me no guarantee I graduate because of the issues. But
Those are the situations that God likes, when it's like impossible, because that's when he's going to like make it happen, and you can't take the credit for that.
Yeah,
Well, you thought you were fired too.
Yeah.
well, I knew my days are numbered in a hotel. So anyway, so I applied, and everything is worked out technically miraculously because of the time limit. I just, of course, manager didn't want to write me recommendations, so I came to my former colleague, a head waiter. Do you mind to write a recommendation for me to go to YMCA? Who am I? I'm nobody. I'm not even, So they don't consider it head waiter as a manager, technically. I thought, well, I have no choice. If you don't write, I will lose a chance. My English is so bad, You write, I signed.
I was the manager at a 5-star hotel. I served the president. Sign here.
No, I'm not that way. So I came to my English teacher, do you mind to write me recommendation, to help me? Of course, and my former teachers, good and faithful and true. So they did, the manager signed. They did all their own recommendation and everything. And so then, of course, the money dilemma to buy the ticket. And of course, anyway, to make the story short, I ended up in New York City, JFK, 1997 in June.
Wow.
Tired because it was a long day from flying from the west to from the east to the west to the same day. Long Wednesday. So, but
and right when you step foot on American soil, you're angel.
That's how I roll.
So where did you come into the picture then?
Well, we actually met at an airport.
Okay, there you go. Not JFK though.
No. But well, I was actually born in America, and so I was born in this land of freedom, and I had a passport and whatnot, but I never really used it except to go back to Japan, because my parents, they became Christian in Japan.
Wow.
And both of them was through media. Like my father was given this book called Steps to Christ, and it was in Japanese language when he was in the army. And that's how he learned about Christ, and he became a Christian on his own, out of his whole family. He's the only one. And my mother too. She listened to this broadcast called Voice of Prophecy in Japanese, and that's how she came into the faith. And they realized they couldn't raise a family in Japan because there was mandatory school on Saturdays, and they felt convicted that all the board exams for all the professional careers are also on Saturday, and the government would not change it because they would say it's not fair to other people. You could have advanced knowledge or whatnot. So they moved to America, and I was deposited on American soil. I was actually made in Japan. My mother was pregnant and had morning sickness in Hawaii, and so I'm a freedom-loving American.
There you go.
But when we met at the airport, it was actually at the college that he attended.
Okay.
Because we have mutual aviation major friends who had Friday night vespers, a little Bible study on Friday nights that we'd all get together, and that's how we met. But we felt it was very providential because we both had this yearning to go back to our or to other countries and share this hope and gospel to other people, because we felt like, we were so blessed with God's presence in our lives. Amen. So from the beginning, we would recognize that we were not going to just stay put. We were going to go out.
So this was a conversation you guys were having early on in the very beginning. Let's go out and let's share what we've learned with the world.
Yeah, I think even that first night at the airport, we were already talking about what we wanted to do mission-wise to serve God in different countries. And it's interesting because even at our wedding, instead of rice, when people throw rice, we had people take paper origami and make paper airplanes for us and send us off. Because
that's actually really super clever.
We met at an airport and we figured we'd see many more airports. And
then you get to see everybody's airplane making skills.
Well, talking about the Bible truth, when I read Genesis, you start from the beginning, right? Genesis 2:18, it is not good for man to be alone. I believe it, amen. There is a truth in the Bible.
You take the Bible literally. I like that. But so you guys get married, and then all of a sudden, did you immediately start traveling?
Not immediately. We spent some time at a lifestyle center and worked for them. And then we had the call to go to Guam and Micronesia. And I worked as a physical therapist at the clinic, and he was in the communications department. He graduated with journalism and public relations.
Carpentry.
Hotel.
Listen,
when you're Russian, you just have to do whatever it takes.
But here in California, he had his journalism degree, and so we always wanted to use our skills for God, and he had this yearning to do a documentary, kind of like a travel log, and not just to travel to see, it's the Eiffel Tower, it's this, but to make it meaningful and purposeful. And we actually did some campus ministry there in Guam, University of Guam, and they had this survey where they go around asking other students, if you could ask God one question, what would it be? And we're like, that's a really intriguing thing, because each student also would be like, oh man, what would that be? And it was kind of a little lead into, okay, you want to get on campus, we can talk about it. And we had, on-campus studies with that. And we wanted to take that further and go into different countries. And so we organized it was like a mission/documentary project. We took supplies from the clinic and we handed out like vitamins and things for the kids, and we brought like little literature and all these things. But then our main focus was to find people that we could survey and catch it on camera, and then have other folks come and share their opinion on what that question what answer they would give that question,
Right,
and
right.
then to ask professors and pastors as well.
Well, because all,
That's a really good idea. In fact, I want to show that video right now. Check this out.
I can see how even asking people this question where we are in our day-to-day lives, how that can open us up to, because God has answered those questions, at least some of them.
right.
And it's in the Bible. So what's the question that you have? If the question has been answered in the Bible, did you know God did answer that question and show it to them? Wow, that's
Because there was a
impactful.
Japanese girl, she's, she had goats in her home in Japan, the family raising goats, so, and she was not a Christian, so we asked her in Japan, hey, she's, you know English pretty good, she studied in America. So do you have any question for God? If you ask God one question, what it would be? And you know what she asked? Why in your Christianity, in your religion, Christ is symbolic of the lamb, as a sheep, lamb. That's what she asked, and to make the story short, later she got baptized, she became a Christian. Not quite because of the questions for God, but it was a part of her journey. She came to Guam, we gave some Bible studies, other people gave Bible studies. Yeah. So
So give us an example of some of the questions that people have. I mean, you're interviewing people from many different walks of life, many different faiths. What were some of these questions that they had?
Well, I thought some of the questions that were unique were like that one little girl from Zimbabwe, she asked, does God have a wife? And some of the young people would say, I don't think God needs a wife. He's got it all.
What's funny about that is God does have a wife.
Yes, it's the church.
That's right.
That's right.
So,
yes.
He speaks about it often.
Yes, and that was what the pastor actually shared later. So I think it's really cool what comes out of young people's minds. And then we had a lot of culturally different questions. So like if you were going down into South America and those areas, a lot of them are, the religion is very rigid, and they were asking questions like, do I really have to go confess in a confessional my sins, or can I come straight to God and talk to Him? And those type of things, what is the steps that I have to take to be saved, or a lot of things that are on their minds are like, do I really have to do so much
what they're asking
to go to church,
for salvation?
And it makes sense to me that God, He's got to be merciful, right? We got into this mess because one person, or two people, I should say, ate an apple, right? Or wasn't an apple, piece of fruit, whatever it was, right? That seems like a relatively easy thing. And then now, look how difficult it is for us to be good. Like we literally can't, we struggle with it constantly, every day, all the time. And it's like, God had to provide an easy way to counterbalance that easy way for you to get into sin. He's offering you an easy way to get out of it. All you need to do is give it over and turn it to Him.
Yeah.
So, did you ever go back to Russia and ask that question?
Yes, I did.
What was the kind of very common question?
Well, we didn't ask
We asked some Russians.
questions for God in Russia, but we asked Russians abroad. And one lady asked, how do I know, how can I find the right person to marry, you know?
That's a good question.
Yes, and another one was asking about when is the golden age, when the millennium will be of peace or something. I don't know. He was a little vague on what it is all about. But when you got into other areas of the world, like in Africa and those types of things, a lot of their questions were just dealing with, why is there suffering? And I think a lot of the common theme, I would say, around the world is, if God is so good, well, why is there such suffering?
Inequality, suffering,
injustices, and so forth. But what was interesting also in Europe, there was a lot of secular mindsets there, and a lot of skepticism, about God and if He's really there, right?
Why don't you show yourself? Why
Yes,
don't you reveal yourself? Kind
type of
questions.
things.
Yeah, we went to Sinai Peninsula, during 2012. Egyptian revolution was still going there. So in fact, we had to book the police escort. Without police escort, you won't be allowed to go to Sinai Peninsula. So we had like armed, with AKs.
Wow.
Police going, protect us. There was riots at the gas station. So it was kind of scary in a way. So I was even asking God question, do you really want us to go there at that time? But He did.
It was the Arab Spring.
Yeah, so He did. So we went to this there was tents and the carpet. So the police put a case right at the table, just laying down, unattended, kind of like, okay. So, and then we ask, the young people, do you have a question for God? They were revolutionaries.
Wow.
So they were on the square, what they could.
Tahrir Square.
Tahrir Square.
Wow.
And she was in her talk, she was saying, I asked her like before the question for God, were you scared to go, and participate in this, uprising and revolution? Well, the only thing I was concerned that my parents would find out that I went. And what else? Well, I found my parents there. So they were university professors and everything.
Wow.
So those female Muslim ladies, they ask a question for God. Why God allows corrupted leaders to be in charge? How He points it. Why? Where is the connection with God and the leaders of the world or leaders of the country? So yes, and another Egyptian man asked question for God. He says, I have a watch, it has a manual, how to operate. I have a car and it has a manual how to operate the car. Does God has a manual for my life, for our life?
So when you were going around traveling and asking these questions, did you have people with you who were giving answers, or a way to point people who asked the questions back to the answers, like, hey, at this time in this place, you'll be able to see the answer to your question?
We took their contact info and we said we'll send them a DVD, and later we asked, would you like one? And we sent some DVDs back
Did
to.
you get some responses from some of those people, like about the answers?
I wouldn't go that far, but definitely we've been in contact with those people still. Yeah.
I think it's helpful to see the common denominator as I traveled around the world as well. And spent time with people in the middle of wherever. And you realize we're all not that different.
No.
We have a lot of the same questions. We have a lot of the same struggles. I mean, some more extreme than others. Obviously, we don't know what it's like to have pure poverty in this country like we do in some of the third world countries. But there's a lot of common ground there with us in humanity. And the neat thing what I really like about what you guys are doing is really asking those questions, but it's like the Bible has answers for all these questions.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Because originally, we wanted to have quest for meaning, kind of worldwide discussion. So somebody is asking questions, then we go to public opinion. What do you think is the answer? You know, and like this guy from LA, I don't think God needs a wife. He's okay, you know. You know, kind of. And then we go to, you know, pastor or some theologian or religion, professor of religion, and say, what is the answer from the Bible? What do you know? Is any answer in the Bible if God has a wife and he goes to the book of Revelation, the bride of Christ, and so on. So it's kind of like worldwide discussion, you know. It's like, you know, not in a threatening way. And of course, you know, we had some folks like in Brazil, a little incident. So we found a guide who spoke English and he was Jewish. He had a David star hanging on him. So would you be able to translate, you know, from Portuguese? You know, we would like to ask a question for God. And in the middle of interview, the camera is rolling, you know, I have a, you know, mic in front of the young man, and I see the police approaching us. Polícia Federal, you know, with a bulletproof jacket, you know, big man. You know, he interrupts the interview, like, what's going on? You know, whatever happening. Yes, and the translator is explaining, they're just asking question for God, just a simple street interview, is it okay? And the police, I would like to say something on the camera, is it okay? So, okay, you can wait, right? Okay. So we turn the camera to the policeman and he says, well, you know, I don't have any questions for God, I just more have a praises. I thank God for my job, for my family, for this country. You know, I just want to express, you know, the thanksgiving and praise to God. You know. So thank you. Please continue.
It almost sounds like, in a very big way, like in a worldwide scale, you're recreating what happened for you on those Friday nights. It's like you come, you bring your idea, they bring their ideas, you have this discussion, and through that discussion, there's a growing process that happens. So I think that's really neat.
And what's beautiful is that, Dimitri, like God heard or saw the desire of your heart as a little boy, and he brought that full circle as an adult traveling the world. But you went from making less than $30, you know, to going to a foreign land, meeting your bride and being able to provide for her. And then you went to travel the world. Some people's dream, like they're holding down jobs and not even able to afford a vacation, but you're traveling the world. Can you give a little insight as to how that's even possible to go to 52 countries?
It's just, I mean, I can say all things are possible with God. He will give you desire of your heart, so never give up with your dream, because it might be from God.
Amen.
You know, it's just...
I always wanted to travel too. That was one of my dreams when I was young. And there's a text in the Bible that says that God will give you the desires of your heart.
Yes.
And so when you submit your life and your plans and everything to Him, then it's like it gives Him, it's like He can open this treasure box for you, I guess is a way to describe it. You know, He's like, okay, here's the gift I want to give you for, you know, submitting. Whereas if I would have just stayed in the job I was, I'd have probably never gone anywhere.
Well, there is a Bible verse, you know, go into the world. And then one man told me, oh, you guys took it literally.
We went all the way to Antarctica, and that is the bottom of the world, right? At the ends of the earth.
Did you feel like, wow, there's just nothing beyond this point
this
here?
Is really, you know, the
It was cold.
coldest
in summer.
Yeah, but in Russia, you're used to that, right?
But what was cool is just, you know, these scientists who are so secular, so far from the Bible, were willing to be on our project, and they were willing to, well, I don't know if I really believe God's there, but I'll ask a question for your documentary. And what was interesting is that they all asked the same question, and that was pretty much, what's going to happen to Antarctica? You know, what will be the future? Because we know as Antarctica goes, the whole Earth is going, and with this whole climate discussion and that's happening in our world right now, it's really interesting that scientifically, yes, it's the world is wearing as an old garment. You know, the Bible is correct in that, and it is our lifestyles and everything that has contributed to all this happening. And people outside our faith are recognizing this, and they're showing us, Antarctica is losing its krill, its feed supply for the penguins, and then on up the chain to the leopard seals and whales. And we really want to preserve, and we want to keep this place. And we as stewards of God's creation have an obligation to share that same passion as well. But we also have our scientists share what's coming for the future of this earth, right? That we will be on a new earth.
The scientists are recognizing that in this graph, so to say, they're looking at all the data, is if we keep going in this way, this thing's going to eventually end, right? Which the Bible really says, well, it's not going to end until Jesus comes again, you know what I mean? And so, we look at the data just with a little bit different perspective, but it is interesting to me to observe that they are actually standing up and looking at what the commission was first given to us. Take care of this planet. This is yours. Take care of this. And they're feeling that yearning, watching it's our selfishness that's ruining this planet. You know what I mean? Like, we've overfished this thing. We've destroyed it with toxins that we put into the air or whatever, so that's a fascinating thing to observe.
I'm sure your ministry was traveling around the world, asking these questions, getting into contact with people. COVID hit, and I'm sure that changed drastically. But you're not doing ministry anymore. So how did you pivot? Like, how did you change your ministry to fit the time we're living in?
Well, we still meet people, right? So
we
we
do a lot of online Bible studies now.
Yes, so and they have questions for God, and we can point, hey, you're not the first who asked, then they would we might point to our experience, and so it brings people together. Yes.
Each week there's this English as a second language Zoom that we're doing, and what they do is it's like open conversations, and we are put into different rooms, and you talk for like 15 minutes, and then you switch, and you do this for an hour. And through those conversations, since it's just an open whatever, they just want to practice their English, we try to sway the conversation towards health and spiritual health, and all these questions start coming up. And it's interesting because just before we left to come here, we were meeting with a couple from Turkey who are in San Francisco at the time, and they were wondering what's going on with this world, and we're in this mess that we're in, and how we're going to get out of it. And so we got to have really good conversations with them there at the beach. And I think God is opening doors right now. People's minds are wondering and confused, and we have answers from the Bible that we can give them.
Amen. So do you guys have a question you would like to ask God?
Yes, I would like to know.
If you could have one, I mean, just think about the amount of time that poor God's got to like deal with when we get to heaven, right? If you spend one day with God, and there's billions of people maybe they get up there. I mean, that's thousands of years that it would take just to hang out with God every day. But one question: what do you have for God?
I think for me, it wouldn't necessarily be like. I don't know. I think there's a temptation to ask questions that some of the answers depend on our own choices. But I think there's the temptation to ask, like, am I going to make it? Am I going to be, am I going to be one of those ones that, am I going to be in heaven? I think it'd be interesting to ask God that. And what if you didn't get the answer you wanted?
Then I would quickly fire back. Can I change
like,
it? But what must I do to have eternal life?
Am I going the right direction, with my life? Or is there something I need to work on or change or, those kind of questions I would probably ask, and probably about my kids too.
I think I have more of a request than a question. Like, I want to spend a day with you. Like, because just having an understanding of the great controversy and what God has to allow for this fair, due process to happen, and how good things happen to bad people, bad things happen to good people, and God is in the position to do something, but doesn't always do that thing because of how things need to play out, and how all of our decisions, the choice to serve him is a choice. We're not doing it out of robots or some kind of law. So there's choice, and God must be going through it, until that end time when he comes for the second time. So but there's that side, but also seeing the miracles, like how he works in people's lives, and the things that he can do, and how people open themselves up to his power, and how he works with them. Just spending a day, I'm sure it would be just fascinating. Yeah.
So that question, about suffering, like why does God allow suffering? Why is there pain in the world? And why doesn't God do something about that? I read an excellent book. So there's a book called The Odyssey of Love by John Peckham. He's a theology professor, and you can get the book on Amazon. It's only like, maybe $10, $15. Yeah. Excellent book. It really lays that all out from the Bible really well. So I'd recommend that resource, and I'm sure we can probably put that link in the description below. Right. Another question I have for you guys is, do you have a website where
the documentary's on Amazon.
Okay, the documentary's on Amazon.
Yeah, so they can search Quest through 7 continents.
We'll put the link in the description as well.
Questions for God there.
Okay. Well, I think that what you're doing is awesome, and if you guys have questions, one thing that we're doing at Little Light is we're trying to answer those as well. We started a new segment called I've Got a Question, where you guys can submit your questions and we will answer them. We're probably going to look for patterns, the same question being asked multiple times. And we've also started working on a series a while back that we're trying to get back to called Video Bible Studies. And those are a little bit longer than I've Got a Question, but really explaining Bible truths and giving answers for that. So that's great. I think as Christians, we have that responsibility, to give answers to people who are searching, and maybe even awaken the search in somebody's own heart.
Yeah.
I have one question for God that isn't necessarily in the Bible, and I just want to know, being a parent, when Jesus was being crucified on the cross, how did you turn around? Like, how did you know everything, all these things, your son is there. I think that we often talk about the suffering of Jesus, but God, just as a parent, I would gladly give my life for my child any day. So I want to know, like, where did you go, God? Where, how difficult was that for you? And I'd love to hear his answer for that.
Well, a more funny question is, did mosquitoes exist in the Garden of Eden?
No. Are they going to?
Well, yeah, will they after?
Not in the same light that we see them. They probably had a good function.
My wife wonders if spiders are going to be in heaven. And if they are, because their whole job is to spin a web to catch something else and eat it, right? So what's it going to do in heaven? It's going to
spin web messages.
That's right. Happy birthday. Welcome home.
I truly believe insects like that crawled out of the fruit.
Well, one of my questions are there pets who they passed away? Some of favorite cats and the dogs.
They'll be there.
Oh wow!
All right, thank you. You answered my question.
Bible has answers, brothers and sisters, and thank you guys for coming by. If you guys have questions, trust what we're saying here. You can stand on that word of God, and there is something in there that literally will answer the questions that you have. And if you don't know how or where to start, just start like these guys did. Lord, help me. And all of a sudden, God will show up in a mighty way. And we've heard testimony after testimony on this channel of that experience. And so we want that experience to be for you guys as well. If you have a question for us, of course, leave it in the comment section below. If you're new to our channel, welcome, like, and subscribe to us, because we've got a lot of cool content. And check out some of our other stuff. And like Keith mentioned, check out some of the new things that we're coming up with. I Got a Question, and we're going to get back on that video Bible study series so we can really get to the heart of the issue, and that's to build a relationship with Jesus. Thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next week.